Hi everyone. This will be a demo on how to start your coil bowl. Right, so I'll introduce tools as we work through the demonstration here. First thing is wedge up some clay. This will work nicely for the first part of building your clay coil and pinched bowl. Right? So you can tear off a hunk of this, or you can use your wire tool, as some of you have found it. It cuts a little bit easier, and it's easier on your hands too, right? So to begin, we'll take about a pound of your wedged clay, and I can pad this out a little bit, right, just between my hands, because we are going to roll this out for our bottom. So here's where we'll use our canvas rolls, right? So underneath your workstation, we have our canvas that will roll on using our dowel rods and the 1/8 or 1/4 inch masonite slats, right? So for working, just want to make sure I don't have any wrinkles in my canvas. Right, so you take a damp sponge, and you just wipe down, stretch out your canvas so you don't have any wrinkles, and it just cleans it also. So you can see these patterns here that were created by cutting with your needle tool. So, which isn't really an issue. It doesn't need to be perfectly clean, but clean enough, right? So with our clay, I can take the palm of my hand, start at the center, and then work my way out, patting it into a round cookie. And then with your dowel rod and using your masonite slats, rolling back and forth. And we'll want to change directions every time we roll out, because depending on your bowl and your base, if you have a nice round slab, you can cut a really nice wide base. I think this is going to be the last time I roll. Right, and if you saw, I moved my slats out a little bit. You don't want it jetting up to the edge of your slab, because then it will keep it from rolling out. Right? And then these cracks here really aren't going to make too big of a difference, because we'll be using the center. One last time, just to compress the clay. Great. There we go. And then you can put your slats away. I'm not going to need them for anything else. So just using it for making our slab base. So in on your work areas, you guys will have some clear containers here, using one for water, and then we use one empty for template, right? So we're just going to cut a circle around this basically, and if you have a wide enough slab, you can cut two out, right? So if you screw up on one, or if you start one, you can start another. As clay takes time to dry, professionals will be working on multiple projects at a time, right? So while one piece is drying, you'll work on another. Just illustrating an example, not saying that you have to work on two, right? For the assignment, you'll only need to create one, but if you want to create two, let's do that. So pretty cut and dry, right? Using this clear container as a template. We're just going to be cutting out around slab. Wet clay likes to stick to things, especially plastic, because it's so nice and slick and shiny, right? But there's our slab. So with our slab cut out, we'll place it on a wood board with a piece of newsprint separating the two so that you don't have your coil bowl stuck to your wood board, right? It'll be nice to rotate as you need it to, right? So just for posterity's sake, we'll trim another one. I do like how that sticks nicely onto the clear container, right? So set this to a side, and we can use that again. So this clay that we have right here is totally reusable, right? So mash it up between your hands, right? And now we have coil for building or beginning to build our bowl, right? So the size of this bowl is going to be 10 inches wide, right? So that's 10 inches, this is the goal, by 5 inches high. So to shoot for this, it's something to keep in mind that you're not, these things can grow out of control as you build. So, it's a good parameter to set. So 10 inches wide by 5 inches high. That's what we're shooting for. Okay? And we'll begin rolling out coils. Right? So taking clay off of the large coil that I rolled, I can roll it between my hands and then begin rolling it on my canvas here. So as you begin, you might find that rolling with two hands is easy, right? This works well to begin learning how to roll, and as I roll, I might create something that's a little flat on one side, like this is not an even coil. That's not a problem. So don't worry about the coil being even and round, right? We just want to start, right? Sometimes rolling with one hand helps to even things out. And what I'm looking for is a relatively thick coil, right? If you roll a coil that's too thin, you'll begin to get into problems of having your bowl be too thin and then it becomes flimsy, and it gets, you know, gets wobbly and things like that. So we want to have a nice structure. So this thickness will work really well for coiling around your base and pinching, as you will discover. So next thing that I want to do is score and connect my slab with my new coil. Okay? So using your serrated rib, just going around at about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, scoring up my slab. You can be pretty rough with this. The more clay nodules, little clay nubs and things like that that you pull up from your slab, the more adhesion you'll get when you connect your coil here, right? So I'll pick a side for my coil and score that as well. So coils are nice. You can just run your serrated rib just down the side one way and then cross hatch it another, and again you can see those little clay burrs on the score marks here. Once you add the water to that, it'll create a soft clay, and those clay burrs will bond together like lacing your fingers together. If you didn't properly score your pieces together, they'll easily separate, right? So think about how your fingers interlock, and you know, if you don't score and compress properly, they will separate easily. So with your brush, you will want to add water, and I like to add water to one side. That water will flow into the scoring from coil to my base. And then as I connect my coil, I'm pinching and compressing downward, right? So pinch and compress. Right, just like that. And I'll go around one more time to compress that line together. So you might be saying to yourself, it didn't go all the way around. That's okay. You know, you can have perfect coils go all the way around your piece if you would like it to, but it's not a problem if it doesn't. So rolling out my coils as I need them. I'll begin adding my coil here and then moving up. So because this is on the base, I'm going to score this edge here, this edge here. I'm going to slightly taper these so I can get a good adhesion. And I'll build up from here and work my way around. Okay, so now this time I'm not going to score the top here. And we'll just work on compression. The clay is wet, so if you compress the clay together, it will bond like your fingers interlacing together, right? So adding water to where I need it to flow, and then taking my scored mark, my scored edge on my coil, compressing, and then blending my lines, my coils together. Right. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm overlapping one side here. I'm pressing down with my thumb and I'm pulling up with my outside finger. This will overlap the coils in a way to make them connect. And then I can always go back and blend and smooth together. Right? So even with my left hand, I'm pressing down with my thumb and pulling up with my outside finger. These are small micro movements, right? And as I begin building up, I can take a step back and look at the angle of my piece and you know, take into account of where 10 inches is, right? So we put my 5-inch mark at the center, and I can see where 10 inches is, right? And looking at my height, those were 2 coils, so roughly, you know, about 1 inch per coil, okay? So after I lay down a couple of coil layers, I will come back and smooth things out. So with my other piece of clay, I can take off clay that I need for coiling. Right? So making sure your surface is clean, you don't get any of these clay bits in your coil, right? Now I've found it pretty helpful for me to roll just with one hand. I can get nice even coils that way. Okay. If one end starts to flare out and I start getting a flat side, I'll just concentrate on that and just roll it out until I get a nice cylindrical coil. So again, starting where I left off here, there inside we'll press down, outside we'll press up, right? So as I put my coil on my wall, you can see that it gets a little bit, it's a little bit thick, right? But that's where pinching these together blends the clay wall and flares out your bowl. So this is where things can grow out of control. And then your bowl turns into this amorphous kind of blob monster, right? You'll see what I'm talking about. So, this is a good start. Now to smooth your bowl. Right, you have these lovely wood ribs, and you can use those to smooth the inside out. It compresses the clay together, blends those lines. The edge here really fits well into the connection of your first coil and your slab base. And just work around. And blend those lines out, right? The other thing that this is doing is it's also shaping your bowl, right? So I'm starting to get this really nice curve on my bottom here. I'm setting this up for the next coil, which will be in a little bit, right? You can see with the clay wall here, as I wiggle it back and forth, it's a little soft. What I'm going to do is put this in front of the fan for a little bit, let it dry, and come back to it, right? So if I keep on building this, it will, lose its structure underneath, right? We want to have a nice, firm, sound foundation while we build up. So I'm going to let this sit in front of the fan a little bit and dry out, and then I'll begin coiling and building up. Okay? We will see you soon.